Everyone, and welcome to my vlog. I've been finding myself in a very reflective mode of late, especially as I am tiptoeing my way to 2024. There are a few things that I have been thinking about of what to do, especially from a mindset perspective. And the intent really around that is to help set myself up for success. And the way I want to do that is to be very clear about my purpose, to be very clear about what my vision is, to be very clear about what are the values that I need to embody and that I need to have in place to get me where I need to be. Just a disclaimer, I will be peering at my notes from time to time, just because I do not want to miss out on anything. And I do hope that what I will share with you will resonate, will inspire, and will hopefully also help you show up in 2024 with a sense of resolute conviction, if I can put it that way. So I'm going to go through a few thoughts, and yeah, please comment on this video if anything comes up for you, if there's anything that you would love to add on to it. I invite you to share that. So one of the things that I thought should be quite important to do is around the skill and the ability to be still. Learning the ability to mute all distractions. And this would be something I would want to do. I can't tell you what to do. It needs to be something, if this is something that you resonate with, find a way of doing it that works for you and around your schedule. But for me personally, I like to have quiet time in the morning. This is the time where I'm reading through scripture. This is the time where I'm really plugging into my source of faith and my source of direction and purpose. So this is the moment where I want to be and need to be still, and being able to mute all forms of distractions. However, the loudest distraction would be in my mind. So for that reason, it would be good and important to have a notebook handy and a pen. So whenever there's a thought that pops up, whenever there's a loud mental item that pops up, jot it down, get it out of your mind, so that you can come back to that state of quietness or quiet. So the aim with this mental silence is really just around being able to reset. And it could be that it might mean that it's a daily need for you. For me, absolutely daily. I'm an introvert at heart, and when I do find myself interacting with a lot of people, so whether it is on social media or whether it's in a conversation where I'm meeting up with friends or family, or I do tend to get overstimulated quite easily. And so because of that, I do feel the need to do a daily mental reset. I have to start the day quietly. I have to start the day slowly, because it just sets the tone for me for the rest of the day. And the power of that mental reset is that you are just able to step into a space of clarity. Again, I can't prescribe to you what works for you. You might be an extrovert, so you might find that to energize your mind, you have to be around people, that you have to be engaged in stimulating conversation. When it comes to me, it's the exact opposite. So I find that when I have that state of silence, I actually find I can ideate easily. I feel more creative, I feel more innovative, I really feel more energized. And that is the creative sweet spot that you want to get to. So now that you have achieved that mental stillness, that mental peace, or mindfulness, state of mindfulness, whatever that means for you, this is the moment where you actually think about and visualize the you that you want to show up in 2024. What does that person look like? What does that version of you look like? So in other words, would that person be more confident? Would that person be more goal-oriented? Will they walk more, or rather would they behave in a more purposeful manner? For me, the biggest thing is, would I be able to say no more and be comfortable with that? The question then is, what needs to change in order for you to achieve that? So what needs to change in my life in order for me to be able to achieve that? What needs to change in order for me to actually realize that version of the me that I want to see in 2024? Once I'm able to articulate those changes, and once I'm able to identify what those things would look like, I think what's then important is to understand and to determine if those changes are actually feasible. If they are not feasible, I'm not going to be moved or motivated to actually achieve them. I'm not going to be moved or motivated to actually get myself into gear to evolve myself into that new person that I want to see in the new year. So the one thing that I've actually written down for myself here is, if those changes that I want to achieve are not feasible, is it a case of deciding on different things to achieve? So once you've clearly articulated the changes that you need to make, I think what's also very important to understand and to ask yourself is, are those changes feasible? And you need to be very honest with your answer, because sometimes in our excitement of wanting to reinvent ourselves, it's very tempting and very, very easy to just want to say, yeah, bring it on. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to do the thing that needs to be done. But it might just be that once you are in the process of making those changes, you realize you might have bitten off more than what you can chew. So, very important to evaluate and to reconcile what it is that needs to happen. If those changes that you have identified are the changes that need to happen to get you where you need to be, the next question needs to be, if I feel that or I find that they are not feasible, is it then just a matter of breaking those changes down into smaller increments, chunking those changes into smaller increments to make it more feasible, to make it more achievable? Because it's all good and well to want to start the year off with a bang, right? But if you want more impactful and lasting change, you need to break those changes down into incremental steps. I believe that this approach, for me would be more impactful, because what it does is it helps me to narrow the focus, to be laser focused on what it is that I want to do. Because if the change is too large or too big, you might just get lost in the enormity of it, and you would just lose momentum before you even gain traction. Now, write down those changes, okay? Write down what are the actions that would be required of you to achieve or to make those changes. But most importantly, because let's face it, any process of learning, any process of change, you are going to go through moments of ebb and flow, and that is absolutely okay. What I don't want you to do is to give up, especially those moments where it looks like it's all for naught, when it looks like success is most certainly not going to be at the end of this journey. So what's important for you to do is jot down what that process is going to look like. What are the potential failures that you might encounter? Now, if you've ever seen any of my content on LinkedIn, especially recently, you would have picked up that I refer to failure as merely being feedback. And I think it's such a beautiful reframe of that word, because there is a very heavy negative load attached to the word failure. But the moment you reframe that and look at failure as feedback, look at failure as a moment in time where you are actually forced to stop, to reflect, and to actually take in those data points, take in those elements, and dissect them and analyze them and treat them as information to improve on for the next iteration, still having that same end goal in mind. Most importantly, be clear on what your non-negotiables are. So we all know opinions, ideas, insights, as some people might call it, are freely given, whether you've asked for them or not. And most of the time it does come from a good place. Most of the time it comes from people who want to help, and that's absolutely okay. But here's the caveat. They're giving that opinion and they're giving that advice in the absence of understanding and knowing what your vision is, what your purpose is, what your why is, because it's not necessarily something that you have articulated out loud. It's not necessarily something that you have put out there for the world to know, because all of this work is still happening internally. what people will start seeing is when you start putting those changes in place. So when you are outlining the actions you need to take to step into that you are envisioning for 2024, be clear on your non-negotiables. Anything that falls outside of the parameters or the boundaries of those non-negotiables, you need to say no to. So the more clear you are on those non-negotiables, the more clear you are on those boundaries, saying no will actually be much easier. Understanding and being very clear on what those non-negotiables are, understanding and being very clear on what the boundaries are for you and in your life, and to achieve what you want to achieve. Saying no will be the best gift that you can give yourself. So that's how I'm reframing saying no to me. How you reframe it to yourself might look different, might sound different. Saying no is something very difficult for me. I am a serial people pleaser. It doesn't always lead to the best outcomes for me. So part of what I want to do for 2024 is really manage my peace. And in order to manage my peace is learning the ability to say no firmly and not hurting people's feelings in the process. And when I say hurting people's feelings, because they are going to feel hurt, because your no means, to them, it means that they're not going to get what they want. But saying no in a very firm manner, in a respectful manner, is going to be the best gift you can give yourself. And it's going to be the best gift I can give myself. Because by saying no, you actually ensure that you stay on the path to achieve what it is that you have envisioned to achieve. Let me end this vlog off by saying this. And I think when I made this realization, it literally hit me between the eyes. And I think this realization has really sparked that motivation and that drive to be laser focused in terms of what it is that I want to achieve. And by putting the boundaries in place, by putting in the non-negotiables in place, to actually help me to achieve what I need to achieve. So let me end off this vlog by asking this rhetorical question. Actually, it's not a question. It is a statement. Being unclear about your values, about your boundaries, your non-negotiables, being unclear about those, not being resolute and not being firm in your no, will lead to the following: society, people, community, whoever it is that has access to you, these are the groups of people that will then end up defining your non-negotiable, your no, your boundaries. Understand, These groups of people will define those things for you based on their best interest, not yours. Now let that sink in. And if that gives you a sense of uneasiness or a sense of unease within you, that is a sign to do something about it. You have to decide what that would be. Thanks for vlogging with me. I hope that this inspires you to reflect, take stock, and reimagine who you can be in 2024. Looking forward to seeing all of you in the new year, and enjoy these last few days of 2023. Yes, it has been tough, but in spite of it being tough, I think one also needs to have a sense of gratitude for the lessons that it has offered. I think one has to have a sense of gratitude to 2023, because if it weren't for those difficult moments and difficult situations, you never would have learned, and you never would have discovered how strong you are.